any cool decks this week? Anything that you played?
So I was trying to play that Boros Moxite deck in paper, but I've not
Hmm.
been able to get my Ragged Short Spears yet. So at locals I ended up playing fairies again, but I threw together mono blue fairies because I thought that would be a change of pace.
Yeah,
And the deck is fun. It just doesn't speak to me. I feel like
really.
constantly I was playing it, and it's like I'm not saying it's not like super deep. There's tons of stuff to do with it, but like I was playing against Gruul monsters, and it just felt like I'm a deck that folds to just like creatures. The first game, I just like I had a very reasonable opener, and then just cast like a Chrysalis, and I
Hmm.
didn't draw any of my tap effects or anything like that, and it was just like, oh, I can't get in. Then they cast another Chrysalis, and then a boarding party, and then I just like die. And
Hmm.
so with all the tappers and cryo shatters and stuff, which I do think has made the deck a lot better. If you draw those, you can definitely have a lot more counterplay and get in and stuff. But like no snuff outs available to have.
Hmm.
So yes, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mono blue just plays so differently.
Yeah, what you just need to add is Sunken City, and then you can try to
Yes,
pick
that's
it
the
up.
answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so my 1/1s can become 2/2s and still not get past a Chrysalis.
I don't know if you're watching the best standard decks ever by on MTG Goldfish. Have you been tracking that at all?
No, not usually.
Okay, yeah. So they're doing a release every Monday where they're taking like pairing up the two best standard decks from like different times in Magic's history to see how they play against each other. And the most recent one, it is one of my favorite standard decks of all time, is just like this mono blue tempo deck that utilizes what's it? Not curiosity, but like
Curious
the
Obsession.
curious obsession to go in and just like draw a bunch of cards and just get in with like the 1/1 flyers, and it just has like real fairy energy, and I and and I love it. But like I do actually love having Sunken City sometimes because I found that it does get me there in some of those matchups, like against Tron and against big green decks, where it's like, oh, guess what? My clock, and now I'm attacking for 10 every turn in the air. And it's like, oh, you got a blocker, even a reach blocker. It's not going to stop me. And so it can be sneaky, but it is also just a bad card a lot of the time, too.
Yeah, it's great if you're able to operate on curve, like play a 1-drop, maybe play another 1-drop or two, or just get a ninja down or whatever. And if you have a nice curve for like the first 3 to 4 turns and then land a Sunken City without
Hmm.
disruption, I think it's incredible. But if your opponent removes a couple of your guys and suddenly your Sunken City is giving like maybe +2/+2 across a couple guys, and now you've nerfed your own mana from like 3 to 1 or even 4 to 2, like it feels pretty bad, I would say. But yeah, I did always like that standard deck. I played a little bit of standard on Arena at that time, and Curious Obsession is an insane card. And I don't think it should be downshifted into Pauper because I think Mono Blue Fairies would be too nuts. But
Hmm.
it is a very fun card.
I know, it's very cool. Um, no, that's cool. So yeah, fairy's not your deck. That's surprising to me because it is so combat oriented, and
It
you love
is,
combat.
and I like it. I just honestly, I'm as much as I love that Pauper has so many mono-colored decks, and I do like some of them. Black Sack, I like White Weenie. They all just have such glaring weaknesses because you're only playing one color that I almost always like the second color to be able to offset those. And I think fairies is one that I really felt like not having hard removal. Like I lost against uh, Terror because he was able to play 3 Tolarian Terrors on turn 3 or 4. It was a very lucky start from him, I'll admit. But like I just had no way to kill his creatures, which just felt really bad.
Yeah, no, that's tricky. I'm trying to think. Doesn't isn't fairies kind of like meant to? Maybe not. I was thinking that fairies has a decent terror matchup, but
My opponent told me that that was the case before we started playing, and then I got
uh
destroyed. So I'm not sure I trust him on that, but it totally could. It could have just been the one match that I played. Didn't feel super favored.
hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I played Demir Fairies the next day and felt a lot more comfortable with that. So I think
Yeah.
I'm sticking with Demir.
So this is my hot take about decks. Like I think fairies definitely falls into this. Elves kind of falls into this. There's certain decks that are relatively simple. I think fairies is one of them. Elves is one of them. Trying to think, maybe mono. I think actually Black Sack might fit into this category, where the game plan is relatively simple, but once you start bringing out like the deeper complexities, there's a lot of depth to these really simple strategies. It's almost like a comparing a mixed drink to like a bourbon, where it's like a mixed drink, like you can add these other flavors, and that would be more like your like decks that have like all of these colors thrown in. Whereas like a bourbon that's like really simple, but like once you start to drink and like pull out those subtleties of like the bourbon, it can like really be exciting. So I don't know. Totally off topic. I'm a big fan of bourbon, but
I'm picking that up. Yeah, no, I agree with you. They're easy to learn, difficult to master for sure.
mhm,
Like yeah, Black Sack is definitely a deck that I think is like you can pick it up and know generally how to play it, but
yeah.
like you're gonna play it incredibly differently once you actually know like the right lines and your
Mhm,
matchups and stuff like that.
yeah. Did you play up against any cool decks?
I think I played pretty standard matchups. Demir Terror. I Mono Blue Fairies is not a deck that I'd seen around a lot. I know a couple people who play it, but they hadn't been playing it recently. And then my first round opponent immediately was also playing Mono Blue Fairies. So we had a mirror match. So that was interesting. Demir Terror. I did Mono Red Madness, which was pretty interesting. I handled that one pretty well. I'm not sure how that matchup generally is. So I think I played against pretty standard matchups. But yeah, what about you? What do you play against this week or play
Um,
as?
so our league starts next week. So I'm like, okay, this is my chance to throw out a brew, and it's become a tradition for me the week before I play just like a ridiculous brew, and this week I brought Simic Evolve and got destroyed. Um, got
Yep.
destroyed round one, round two. Totally understandable. Round three was interesting because starting out, me and my opponent looked at each other and he's like, I'm running like a janky deck this week. And I'm like, I'm running a jankier deck this week. And he's like, I don't know. I think I'm running a jankier deck. And so it got to the point that he's like, I was like, how much you want to bet that I'm running a jankier deck? And we ended up betting the person who had the jankier deck would pay for the next week's buy-in for the other person. And so this is round three. Neither of us have great records. and, and we're going into this playing it out. And it's turn one, he plays like a red or no, a green black artifact land. And so immediately not the most played artifact land. And I play out my tangled islet. I don't know how you'd
Islet.
even pronounce it. Islet. And we're like, okay, we're in for a show. And he was playing a artifact deck that runs Tinker, and right, Tinker is the search for converted cast one or less.
No, that's Trinket Mage.
Trinket Mage. Okay, yes. Okay, yeah.
Tinker
Tinker
is
totally banned, or not not
not
a
even
common.
legal. Yeah. I was like, whoa, he is playing some spice.
Trinket Mage into just like 1 mana artifact toolbox deck, plus reanimating your artifact lands into creatures, which definitely a spicy deck. My deck again, Simic Evolve, running things like Shamble Shark and and Experiment One, and the new elf from the newest set, Mirkwood something, which basically bounces a creature to your or a permanent to your hand. It gets a +1/+1 counter. Anyway, both of us like grinded out for a long time. He ended up taking it. There was like halfway through where I was like, I think the most janky deck is probably the one that loses. And I ended up losing. And at the end of it, I'm like, it may be a draw for the most janky deck. And he's like, no, I think you won. So
It's a nice way to hedge your bets halfway through. Well, if I lose, you got to pay for my event next week.
he's like, so he's paying for my buy-in next week. So thank you, James. But it was a really fun way to end out the night.
Sick. Yeah, those decks sound cool. I'll have to get some deck lists for sure. I know we talked about this in McEvolve before, but
I don't. Yeah, I don't think you want the deck list on. I'm gonna be honest with you.
well, I'm interested to look at it. I'm not interested to play it. But,
Thanks to Card Market for sponsoring this video.
this is the Familiar Podcast. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. I am Marsh from StrataGames, and I'm joined by Peter, as always. And today, I wanted to start by talking about some news that happened this week in Pauper, which was that on afternoon or late morning on Monday this week, there were just suddenly a bunch of cards from this new secret layer that were unveiled, with like Sarah Angel and Baleful Strix, very notably with the common symbol on them. And so immediately everybody from Pauper subreddit, and every Discord that I'm in, people are messaging about it. And there was no announcement about this, no ruling. As far as I know, the secret layer was just kind of like there was no like pre-announcement about it. It was just like, here it is now. Cards started getting revealed. And so, of course, the question is, are these cards that are commons going to be legal in Pauper? Because Sarah Angel, Baleful Strix, cards we know about, not ever having been printed at common before. And yeah, so pretty interesting. Baleful Strix, probably a busted card for Pauper, first of all. It would make, I think, Affinity a very good deck already, even more insane because it's an artifact creature with an ETB. And also Dimir Fairies, which, I mean, I would love, but I think that I think this card might be a little too powerful. Anyway, later in the afternoon, a couple hours later, Gavin announced that these cards, in fact, were not going to impact Pauper legality. And the intention of secret layers was that they were never going to affect this. And this, of course, sparked a lot of controversy because what's the difference between a secret layer and like a commander product, or like these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle team up decks impacting stuff? So, Peter, what are your thoughts about this so far?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed that they ended up not doing it. When they first made the announcement, people were like, okay, Baleful Strix, great card, would definitely shake up the Pauper meta, maybe not so powerful that it would be ban worthy. I think it would definitely change the format. But so Gavin coming out immediately and talking about it, Sarah Angel probably wouldn't see any play at all. But when Gavin made that announcement, some people were like, okay, what is the card that he's really worried about? that if it gets announced that people are going to lose it. And I think last night they announced Narcomeoba being in the set.
Yeah.
At common level. And Narcomeoba probably would break the format.
Yeah. The secret layer, obviously most secret layers are like 5 to 10 cards. This is like an 120 card set. Like I can't begin to understand it. I don't really know what's going on with it, but yes, there are a lot of cards that are for no reason really like downshifted, obviously not really into Pauper. I assume it's just like the frequency of the cards popping up in, I don't know if they're in booster packs or whatever. Again, I don't really know.
Yep. So yeah, the secret lair, this is the first time they're doing it. They're actually releasing a secret lair booster pack. So it's kind of like a mini set with booster packs. And so that's why like the rare, common, uncommon rarity is there, is because it determines the frequency that it's appearing in those booster packs. So I understand why they did it versus like in other sets they could either just use like an S for like non-rarity or whatnot. But it feels really unplanned that this is happening, and that Gavin was so quick to respond. It kind of felt like when I go into the workday and I'm just like going in and checking my email and there's an issue, and then all of a sudden I have to drop everything and respond to this issue. I'm sure that's what Gavin's morning was probably like.
Yeah, it definitely kind of just spoke to Wizards being a little unorganized. And yes, I would be surprised if Gavin had any like foreknowledge of this happening, because I feel like if he did, he would probably have tried to figure out a solution beforehand, as that seems to be the way he usually operates. And so the fact that we got an answer within, I think it was like 4 hours of the set, the cards popping up is pretty impressive. That does also speak to like, did he, the Pauper format panels all across the world, did he like actually confer with everybody in there and get like, did they vote on it or anything, or like what was the time? Because of course we wanted an answer quickly, but also was everyone able to voice their opinions? Like if a decision was made in 4 hours, that's not really a great thing if decisions like this that are pretty big, because big powerful cards joining the format. If that decision was made in a couple hours, that doesn't really, it's not the best thing. I would say,
Yeah.
like, these are decisions that need to be thought out a little bit longer.
Yeah. Now I think I would have been excited for, like, I'm kind of sad that this was such a quick like shutdown, because I think there is actually a lot of potential here for downshifts. This would have actually been a really cool avenue to downshift some cards in an exciting way into Pauper without it breaking a limited format. So I'm a little disappointed that like we already cut off this avenue. I think there would have been a potential to kind of open this up as like these actually being playable commons. But there's not really much we can do about it at this point. So I'm kind of curious if they're gonna just like stay in that direction. They're talking about changing the rules of Pauper so that it accounts for this. But it feels really messy.
Yeah, I mean, the official rules have to change if this is what they're gonna decide, because like otherwise, as far as we know, the rules are if a card has been printed at common in paper or on MTGO, because there's a little bit of disparity there. But if it's been printed in either of those places at common, it is legal, unless of course it's banned. And with the knowledge that arena cards are not, doesn't affect rarity and things like that. But yeah, this means that there needs to be a whole new clause written up about like, well, not this secret layer for whatever reason, kind of arbitrarily.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Commander products printed at common do affect Pauper, but Wizards has made a plan to not downshift in Commander products going forward for that reason.
Yeah, that's essentially true. So anything printed at common in a Commander product is going to be is legal in Pauper. That's how we initially got cards like Ash Barons, I believe. That's one of the notable ones that stands out, which is why Ash Barons was so expensive for a while, was that it was only found in Commander products.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it got reprinted. But yes, I believe Gavin himself has specifically said that they no longer plan to downshift cards via Commander products. And so that's good that probably won't happen in the future. But then, as I mentioned earlier, like, what's really the difference between that and like these Ninja Turtle like team up packs that are just as exclusive, if not more? The reason Ultra Monitor is $7 is because it's in this really hard to obtain product that you only get. I think you get 3 of them in the set. So it's not that you get 1, but you get 3, which is just short of a play set. So if
Even
you want
worse,
set, you have to buy 2. Exactly, you have to buy 2, and then you have 6, and then you don't need 6. So it's like, it's very messy, and that's the only reason that card is expensive. And the whole point of rarity is how often does this card show up in a booster product? If it's not a booster product, rarity doesn't mean anything. Like a common in Ultra Monitor could have easily been printed at Mythic Rare, and it would be just as difficult to get because it's only in this one product. Except it would be less expensive because we wouldn't care about it for Pauper. So it's kind of arbitrary that like, if we print a black symbol on a card, you have to care about it, even though the commonality of the card doesn't actually mean anything at this point.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. That's kind of the limiter that defines Pauper, in that like that's what keeps Pauper's power level from being too wild, right? Like the obviously the power level is high because it's an eternal format, but you're not getting things at rare, uncommon, or mythic level. And because of that, when they build these booster products meant for being drafted, the common level power level of cards can't be too high, or else it just breaks the whole draft format. And so it's kind of this built-in limiter that allows Pauper to like still receive some cards, and some cards sneak through at like too high of a power level. For example, Chrysalis was just like a really extremely powerful draft common, as well as being a really extremely powerful common in Pauper. But that kind of balance is what kind of has kept Pauper from becoming too powerful, or bringing in cards that completely break the format.
Yeah, exactly. Like the cards need to be printed at common, and for a booster pack, for a draft environment, that means that they need to have a certain power level. You do have those outliers. Crystals, I think, was like a 65% win rate in draft if you had it, and so obviously even for draft, that card was too powerful, and that should have been something they fixed in playtesting. But yeah, like we have even in more Modern Horizons or Commander Masters sets like this, those cards are generally meant to be playable in multiples. You're going to see them most every game where you're playing that color or against that color because of that, and that kind of sets the precedent for how powerful these cards can be. We sometimes have outliers, but then something like the team up or the Commander products, it's like it doesn't hold to that heuristic, which just doesn't which gives the ability for us to get really broken, or not even super broken. Ultraminer is not the most broken card ever. It's just a good enough card that was in an exclusive enough product that it makes it really expensive. But if we get like a Chrysalis power card that's in something as exclusive as the team up, then that card could be $20. It could be $30.
Yeah.
And so that is just not something I'm a big fan of. I will say with the Secret Lair, since they were all reprints, if these cards were legal, they wouldn't be anywhere near as expensive. Baleful Strix, has been a quote unquote bulk rare for a while, very playable in Commander, but not really anywhere else. That it wouldn't probably be that expensive. But if this was a brand new card, like this could be a gateway to getting more like if these cards were legal, I guess this is kind of devil's advocate. If these cards were legal, this could have been a gateway towards us getting mechanically unique cards in booster pack Secret Lair sets that we've never seen before. And then those cards are going to be outrageously expensive and would be almost impossible to get. And that would make it very difficult for the format. So for that reason, I'm kind of glad that they're not legal. I will also say, looking at some of the other cards that were common in this set, Baleful Strix, of course, you mentioned Narcomeoba. I think that's one of the big ones. Hey, Dredge has been needing a new card for a while to be a little bit more playable. I think Narcomeoba might be a little over the line. I think
Spy gets real broken with Narcomeoba.
Oh yeah, of course. Spy is already pretty good. I mean, it could maybe get a boost too, but yeah, if you just spy, you can spy on with no creatures on board, right? You just
turn one
Narcomoebas.
Yeah, Dark Ritual into Lotus Petal into Land Spy, even no Land Spy. Yeah, you have the potential of a much more. It's already exists that you can get the one land.
But you have to make you have to make like 6 or 7 mana, because then you get the ability to unearth those like Dregskate zombies or something like that. But if you can do it for just 4 mana, it'd be too reliable.
So as a 4-card combo, you can win on turn 1, which is unheard of in Pauper. There's no other deck that does that. So very, very broken card in that sense. Now it's very glass cannon-y.
For sure. You lose to a counterspell or a Fairy Macabre or whatever. But,
Fairy Macabre is just instant loss.
But they have to have a Fairy Macabre in their opening hand, or a counterspell that's 0 or 1 mana, and they have to have been on the play. Like, if Narcomeoba was downshifted, I think it would be banned pretty immediately.
Yeah.
Or Spy would be, something else.
Yeah. Now, I am of the opinion that maybe this wasn't the best approach for Gavin to take. And we're putting it on Gavin. It's probably not Gavin's decision. It's probably a decision made. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Or maybe it's made by his like supervisor or manager or whatever. Who knows? Or Wizards as a whole. I think there was some merit to instead just doing like a preemptive ban of some of the cards. Like, I think it would have been okay to I think it would have been interesting to have Baleful Strix in Pauper. Like, I think it would have been really powerful. And maybe it would have been too powerful, and we would have found that out, and things would have had to adjust accordingly. But, and I think Narcomeoba, immediate ban. Like, I think it's just not a good card for the format at all. But I would have liked to maybe have the chance to play some of those cards. I'm kind of sad that this avenue has been cut off, and maybe they can back up and redo it or change their mind down the line. But I think it probably would have been better just to do like a preemptive ban. Now that risks having a ban list that's like way too long, like a huge list. But yeah, I'm kind of sad that the avenue was cut off. There was a lot of excitement yesterday when it was announced, and that excitement slowly died off throughout the day as people realized that these were not going to be playable.
Yeah, I think that a preemptive ban might set like a rough precedent. I know we've done that once. I think it was just once that we did a preemptive ban, which was the cranial ram. And that's because it's basically another card, except even better, that's already been banned. So I think that one was fine. But if we're just like, well, Narcomeoba is 99% going to be broken and we start banning that, then like I feel like we just kind of keep blurring the line of like, when do we ban a card just because it looks pretty broken, like pre-ban a card. Like I wouldn't be a fan of Narcomeoba being in the format because it's only going to be combo-y stuff, but like for all I know, you know, the meta could adjust to it. But I'm also not the biggest fan of crazy powerful cards like that being thrown into the meta and then just being like, well, deal with a frankly really bad meta for 2 or 3 months because like this one card or deck is now broken and runs rampant for a while, and then just deal with it and we'll ban it in a couple months. So like, yeah, I think if they had known this was coming down the pipeline, maybe they would have made some different choices. I think that like it seems like from the way the communication went that we informed Gavin that these cards were now there, as opposed to him being told by the company he works for, which is not a great approach. And so I'm not a big fan of that. But yeah, Narcomeoba definitely would have been, I think, too powerful. I think Baleful Strix would be a power outlier. I'm not sure it would be banned, but like, I think if Strix was in the format, I think Tolarian Terror would be so much worse because you just have this 2-mana Death Toucher that's going to trade with that's playable in multiple current meta decks, right? Again, it's an artifact, so any affinity deck running blue and black is going to want to play it. It's got an ETB and it's a flyer, so any fairies deck that's playing blue and black, I mean, mostly Dimir fairies, is going to want to play it. And so I think Terror becomes really bad. But again, like there's nothing wrong with a meta shift like that. I don't know if it would be too powerful to ban, but it definitely, like, even though I like playing Affinity and I like playing Dimir Fairies, I was a little worried that like it would be too
powerful. Yeah. No, it's totally fair. The at the same time, yeah, it was messy. I'm glad that Gavin was so responsive, right? So obviously miscommunication, there was a mess up there. We and Pauper kind of have the luxury of quick responses to things like that, where I think a lot of other formats, it probably would have sat like that as news for like several days and maybe even longer. And then it would have been like brought up like, oh, actually, no, this won't affect standard, or, oh no. So I really appreciate the responsiveness. I mean, we saw it with like the Seeker of Skybreak combo too, right? Where the with the release of the card, everybody was noticing, hey, there's this infinite combo now that happens on turn 2. Everyone was kind of freaking out. There was talk of a preemptive ban. Gavin was very clear, hey, we're going to hold off on the preemptive ban. We realize there's this infinite combo, but we're going to let it play out for a little bit, and they let it play out for a week. and then made the decision just based on the window of whether or not to ban it then or have to kind of let it sit for a while and then ban it later, which could be a debatable decision, but the responsiveness I think I really appreciate in Pauper.
I think I understand if you don't like this decision for the Secret Lair or the decision for Secret Skybreak. I think that's totally fair. I do think that the worst thing we could be getting is worse communication, and the speed that we're getting the communication. Like I was literally refreshing my Blue Sky knowing that Gavin was going to tweet something or in within a couple of hours. And if I was playing any other format, I would probably not have been holding my breath for that. I probably would have been waiting a couple of days or whatever. And so knowing that I am going, like, unless something crazy happened, I was 100% expecting a response that day. And I think that's much better than just like being left out in the cold for 3 or 4 days as they scramble to figure out an answer. But don't even communicate. Like even a message like, yeah, we're looking into it, we're figuring it out is great. But like there aren't even really specific people that are designated to do that for other formats. Cause it's just like WotC as a whole does the ban lists and like, I don't know. So whether you disagree or agree with the decision, I think the quick communication is good. Yeah. And I mean, I will say like, I know a lot of people have been upset with this reaction or the response here, the response to Secret Skybreak, also the non-ban of Sneaky Snacker. Like between all of these 3 things over the last 2 months, we've kind of had a pattern of what a lot of people have kind of been saying is like stagnation of the format. Like we've been in the same format for basically 2 years since Modern Horizons 3 came out is what I've mostly been hearing, with Burn, Terror, Affinity, John Wildfire being some of the best decks. And there are other decks that have risen. Monstertron and Naya Gates are some newish ones that are pretty good tier 1, if not tier 2 decks. But yeah, there have been a lot of people who have been upset with that. And I think that's reasonable because Seeker Skybreak could have been a big change up. Maybe get this cool new deck and then the meta adapts to it. Maybe we didn't need to ban it. If Snacker got banned, obviously that would cause a bit of a shakeup. If we got these new cards, it would too. And it seems like with the consistency of those 3 last decisions that, like, according to these other people, I don't really agree with it. But a lot of people are saying that, like, the Pauper format panel's goal is to just keep us in this, like, same format. And I think that's not entirely fair, but I also, like, do understand that, like, I wouldn't mind a bit of a shakeup too. But I'm just not sure that any of those opportunities that have come up have been the right one, personally.
Yeah. No, it's been a really healthy format. But yeah, I agree. I think part of the excitement too is that not only was it an opportunity for a shakeup, but it was a shakeup that was not like Universes Beyond. And I think usually Pauper players are a little bit more like not a fan of Universes Beyond and more a fan of like in Universes set. Not saying that's all of them. I think the tide has changed a little bit in that. But like getting an old card that's like a beloved card that's an in-universe card, I think excited a lot of people. Like, oh cool, we're getting an edition that's like a classic card that would be awesome in Pauper that people probably have wanted downshift for years. So I think there was a lot of excitement there too, that was driving that. Now, that all said, yeah, I think Wizards' response time was great. I think they should have talked to each other before, but I think businesses make mistakes. Being in a business, like I think big mistakes happen sometimes, and it's not that you make a mistake; it's like how quickly you reverse that. Now, you mentioned Snacker. Hot take: I think Snacker is awesome for the format. I think everyone that hates Snacker is wrong. But and that's coming from somebody that's never cast a Snacker. I think it's just a cool card.
No one in the world has cast a Snacker, Peter.
Oh, that's fair.
They're all getting it from the graveyard for free.
No, that's true. Yeah, I've never played a Snacker. Me and Phil were bonding about that last night at Magic is that or at 5-6 Pauper night, was that we neither of us have ever played a Snacker and the whole time that it's been there. But we both had success. So I think Snacker is an interesting card. I think it's fun for the format and not too broken. But yeah, I think that it does beg the question, right? Is Pauper getting stagnant? Does Pauper need like an infusion of new cards in order to kind of keep interesting? My take is I don't think so, but I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think we are getting infusions. Every new set brings generally like 3 to 5 cards that make some impact on the format. Are they, format warping? No, but that's not really what we want. The Hobbit is a new set that Boulder is doing a lot of work for Tron decks. I've also had a lot of like 3-color affinity and like mid-range piles of people saying it's really good in like Mardu Synth and like other things like that because it fixes and then late game it becomes a removal spell. So that card is already proven to be very, very good. Ragged Short Spear, I think, is not doing quite as much work as I would have expected, but I've certainly been trying it out in Moxite, and I think it's got some potential there. There's also the Crude Bent Blade, I think it is, that like is an edict and an equipment. I've heard and seen some people playing with that a little bit. And I know some people have done like Flickertron with like Gandalf, the one that you pay 6 and shuffle it in, but you just flicker it and then you draw 3 cards and stuff like that. And like, yeah, all of these cards are not making huge waves except for maybe the Boulder. And I think that's totally fine. Like, I think as new cards get printed and then like decks get one upgrade or something like that, the decks start to get better and better and better or worse, or, other decks get worse and things like that. I think Mono Blue Fairies is a deck that has certainly been good and bad in different times in the meta for the last couple of years, but it's gotten 4 or 5 new cards in the last year or two. And between Sewer Valence Cam, Cryo Shatter, Ilvoid Galeblade doesn't see a lot of play anymore, but it did for a little while, as well as Harrier Strix was a couple of years ago. I feel like I'm missing one other. But yeah, there's a lot of these decks that just get like 1 or 2 cards to improve the deck, and then slowly that makes the deck better or worse. Like, I understand that a lot of the best decks have been the best decks for a while, but like Monstertron is not a deck that was on anyone's radar 6 months ago. Like, it, I think it was about a year ago with Edge of Eternities with Pinnacle Killship that it like first became a real viable option. And then, but like Brambleworm had been downshifted a year and a half ago, and that card is now in like every Tron deck ever, and people didn't even realize that it was good enough for like a year. So I think there's plenty of interesting things to brew and plenty of interesting new decks that you have to fight all the time, that I'm not really worried about it stagnating. Yeah, you're still going to have to play against Mono Red Madness and Mono Blue Terror and stuff like that. But like, I think there's a difference between the decks and the format stagnating and just having kind of like pillars of the format where it's like, yeah, you're going to have to play against Affinity. That's been true for the entire time Pauper's been around. You're going to have to play against Affinity. If you don't want to play against Affinity, this might not be the format for you. And that's totally fine. Or just pack more Dust to Dusts. That's what I do. Like, I just make sure I can kill Affinity on site.
It's true.
So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with the format. I will say about your hot take with Sneaky Snacker, I was someone who said that I thought it should be banned, not because of the power level, but because of its ubiquity at this point. It's in 5 or so different meta decks. And so it's not that I don't think it's an interesting or fun card. It's just that I don't mind playing against it in Mono Red Madness or Rakdos Madness, but then also it's Dimir Terror, also it's Naya Gates, also it's Boros Tribe. And then it gets to be a little much. But that said, with it not getting banned, I'm still going to be playing the format. I think the format's still in a good spot, and I'll just be packing up a couple more Torch to the Towers probably.
Yeah. Yes, I think the kind of the advantage of cards like Sneaky Snacker is I think it props up decks that would not be able to be propped up on their own. So, like you mentioned Tribe. I think Tribe is like fine. I think it broke through for a little bit. And I think that it does. I think it's a decent deck. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it's a pretty good deck. Without Snacker, I think it falls short. And I think like that alternate like condition kind of gives certain decks legs. I think similar is the Gates package. So I don't think the Gates package is a deck in itself ever. I don't know, maybe a little bit, but I think it gives legs to decks that need that extra push. Or I think there's the opportunity to kind of give legs to the decks that need that extra push. And so I kind of like cards like that because I think that's what does make the meta more interesting. It allows these more fringe decks to become like higher tier decks. And but that being said, I think what Pauper has going for it is there's a huge library of decks in Pauper. I would be surprised if anybody has played all of the viable decks in Pauper. And they definitely haven't played the ones that haven't been discovered yet. And so there's always kind of more to go to. I think stores can get like certain metas can get a little stale, right? Like if you're playing MTGO, you're probably going to be playing against some of the same decks over and over again, because the reality is the perspective of the best decks in the format lead people to play those decks when they're playing for money. But that doesn't mean that those are the only viable decks. And there's just a huge library of viable decks and decks that are just on the edge of being viable. And I think there's decks that we haven't discovered yet. I think there's synergies that are probably exist out there, don't even need cards added to it, and just are a matter of being discovered. I don't think the best Pauper deck has been discovered yet, probably.
I think that's probably true. I definitely think there are decks that haven't been discovered because like one of the reasons that people always say, and I always say that like Pauper's a brewer's paradise is not just because there are new cards being added. It's because there are so many cards to pull from and combinations of cards that people haven't tried yet. And absolutely, sometimes I'll stumble upon like a brew that without any new cards that I'm just like, oh, this deck's actually like pretty good. And like, you focus on it, you hone it, and it's like you can actually make kind of a relatively viable, like maybe as high as tier 2 deck if you really know what you're doing, especially for like your local meta. As far as if the best deck has been found, I mean, who knows? Like there could definitely be like some broken combo or synergy that like people haven't noticed, but like people are also looking for those all the time. So I think unless there's one that's hidden that like it's really hidden, but it's really good, which seems difficult. Like, you know, who knows if the best deck's been found? But.
Yeah, no, the meta breaker is out there. I know it. It's just like it's like finding the treasure, right? It's like finding the city of gold. It's the meta breaking tech.
It'd be great to find then. I mean, everyone's got to keep brewing to hopefully find it. Real quick, I wanted to run by you. There are, I think it looks like 4 other cards that could have impacted the format from the secret layer that were downshifted that aren't going to be legal. But I'm just interested what your thoughts are about them. One of them is Cut Down. So black mana instant, destroy target creature with power and toughness equal to or less than a 5.
I would be okay with that being. What about you?
I would definitely be okay with it. I think it would be powerful. It would be kind of a black lightning bolt in a lot of ways. Like, this is a card that was highly seen in standard as like the go-to black removal spell. Just a single mana, instant speed, and it kills basically everything that's like a 2/3 or a 3/2 or lower, right? So like your core Skyfishers, I mean, obviously things like Glint Hawk and stuff like that. But it has to, you know, can't kill Ultra Monitor. Once you get to 3/3, it's safe. But there are so many cards that are so small in Pauper. This kills without pump spells. This kills everything in White Weenie. This kills everything in Red Rally, or just about any aggro deck you can think of. It kills any ninja or fairy. You know, so I'm not. I don't think it'd be too powerful. I think it'd be a very, very powerful card though.
It's kind of fun. It loses its effectiveness to pump spells though, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, similarly to like a lightning bolt, if you in response giant growth or mutagenic growth or whatever, it can save it. But then it doesn't even get marked like damage or anything, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting card. I think it would have been fine. I'm not a fan of Cast Down having the monopoly that it does. I think it's lost some of that with the creation of a bunch of legendary commons. I think it's still the best removal spell in black. Cast Down, just like the unanswerable, maybe Snuff Out, but
I think it and Snuff Out go back and forth, but I do think if Cut Down was introduced, you'd kind of have this like triad of cards that are like all really, really good. Cut Down's the cheapest, that doesn't lose you a bunch of life, right? Honestly, Cut Down being able to kill like a Gutter Snipe or a Kessig Flame Breather without losing you 4 life, really important. And 1 mana versus 2 is a huge deal. So
yeah, similar to like what blue deals with counterspells, right? Where you have the perfect counterspell in counterspell, and then every other counterspell has like a disadvantage. Where it's like, okay, situationally, a dispel is amazing. You go up against elves, it's a dead card in your deck.
But yeah, you still see Dispel, Spell Pierce, Force Spike all played, and of course sideboard cards of Hydroblast and Annul and Steel Sabotage and stuff like that.
Yeah, which I think is interesting to be in. Okay, what's next?
I agree, and I wouldn't mind more black removal like that too. Dispatch, which is a card I've thought about before for a downshift, which is white mana for an instant, tap target creature, but if you control Metalcraft 3 or more artifacts, you exile that creature instead.
Ooh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, like obviously no Insane Affinity needs to get better cards, although it always does anyway, but it is a white spell that cares about artifacts, which of course we have some of, but I think ever since all the glitters got banned a couple years ago, we've never really had since then a very good affinity deck that has white. So like a reason to really play white with artifacts here.
Yeah, I think the mono white would probably have some play with it. It may like change a little bit, but yeah, like running the clue token package, and then maybe probably bring in some like other artifact-y type creatures. I think this is one of those cards that I think would cause decks that maybe like rogue decks right now have a shot at being actual tier level decks, which is really fun. Yeah,
I mean, this would be a slam dunk in the like mono white robots deck, like that plays a bunch of Ornithopters and Ardent Recruits and stuff like that. You're right. Like, I mean, it's better Swords to Plowshares if you can have it online, right? So I do think mono white, while like it would probably play a bunch of Ancient Dens to make sure you can hit this. Now that does anti-synergize with your like idyllic ranges, so you have to then make a choice if you want to play those or not. I didn't really think about it for mono white just because all you're making is clues so far. But yeah, if you put in the lands and you find maybe 4 other slots to put in artifacts, a white mana to remove anything is incredible. So
yeah, what's the 3/1 first striker?
Porcelain Legionnaire.
Yeah, So like cards like that might start seeing play. Yeah, I think there's a real potential there, and maybe some other cards that produce clue tokens that are not one drops. So
yeah, no, that'd be cool. Here's one for the commander lovers. We have Generous Gift. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token for 2 and a white.
Okay, so this I have opinions about.
Go for it.
I have been wanting a card like this for so long. It's like a similar to what's the other version of this spell?
A Beast Within.
Like Pognify.
Oh, Pognify. Yeah.
I've always wanted a Pognify downshift, rapid hybridization. Yep. There's a white version that's 2 mana that does the same thing that creates an angel instead.
Yep.
That's instant speed. This is a what's it called? This is like a power that I think is like really actually interesting to play with when I've played with these cards in like standard. And it's actually like one of the cards I probably want most for my Simic Evolve deck. This is a way to negate your opponent's removal while also being bad removal against your opponent's creatures. It almost acts as like a sort of charm. But yeah, this being a 3-drop, this would probably not see any play, but I think it's cool. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. People like it for Commander, and I play these cards in Commander because you can destroy any permanent. Sometimes even a land is what you want to blow up. And in a Commander game with 40 life and 3 opponents, it doesn't really matter that much if you give somebody a 3/3 because that takes 40 swings for it to kill all of their opponents. In 1v1, a 3/3 is enormous. Like you're spending 3 mana and an entire card to blow up their Tolarian Terror, and all you do is actually give that Tolarian Terror -2/-2 because you give them a 3/3, right? Or you take away its ward. So I guess if you had a deck that like did that and then maybe took advantage of them having tokens that you were able to bounce for really, really cheap or something, you could get away with it.
Or like a Naya Panza deck where you're running such big monsters that you don't really care.
Yeah, I was going to say as a additional Panza spells, I think it could be okay too. But of course, you have to already go through like Thermokarst and Stone Rain before you get to this being like good enough. But that could be kind of interesting. And hey, in the late game, you can turn your Utopia Sprawl into a 3/3, which is kind of cool. So like there is a little bit of charm utility, like you mentioned there. But generally, this type of card is okay in Commander in multiplayer and not very good in 1v1.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Also targeting your own thing. Yeah, three mana is a lot. If it was 1 mana and hit a creature only, I would say for sure.
That's Pognify and Rapid
Exactly. And it's wonderful.
Yes, I agree. Okay, here's the last one and another card that is pretty good. Price of Progress is common for some reason here. 1 in a red, instant. Price of Progress deals damage to each player equal to twice the number of non-basic lands that player controls.
That's neat. It is so bad in some matchups, but it's kind of a neat sideboard card. I probably punishes like decks like Affinity a little bit too much.
Yep.
Mono red would just be able to like, but I don't know if I hate that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it seems a little bit too much of a silver bullet to like really be in Pauper. Even our silver bullets in Pauper are still answerable and like workaroundable. This one is pretty hard to answer and pretty hard to work around. Like Affinity, if they have like 4-5 lands out, which is normal by the end of the game, with how slow our format is, you're just doming them for 10 damage, right?
Yeah, I think it's less of a silver bullet and more of a silver buckshot because this hits every single 3-color deck in the format. Your Affinity, but also your Jund Wildfire, any Gates deck, any Tron deck. And we're giving an insane tool. Yeah, it's a sideboard card, but it's a sideboard card you'd pack 4 of because so many decks are just going to be like losing to this card, I think. I think Mono Red Madness is already good enough and does not need, I'm not saying it can't ever get an upgrade, but I think this card is insane and would heavily make it so that you would not want to be playing 3 colors, maybe even 2 colors, depending on how many tap lands you're playing. Because you tap out on turn 4 with 4 lands and price of progress you for 8, untap, price of progress you for 8 more, bolt or whatever. They have to have done nothing else in the game and they win instantly. I think this card's a little too over the line. So
yeah,
I would say if these cards did make it into Pauper, Price of Progress and Narcomeoba would almost assuredly need to be banned. And I think
Yeah.
Strix would probably end up being fine, but it would be a power outlier that drastically changes how decks are built.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think the other ones would be fine. They would change the meta as well. I think they would also be power outliers.
Yeah, I think Generous Gift is the only one of the ones that I mentioned that wouldn't really be playable here. And there might be a couple others here that I missed that are downshifts that are just like Power Sync. I don't know if that's ever been common, but I don't think it'd be playable. Sarah Angel isn't going to be playable. Sengir Vampire. But yeah, so whether you like or dislike the decisions that were made, I feel like there's a couple cards in here that would drastically change the format and a couple that would upend the format until they were banned almost immediately.
Yeah. Now, I've been waiting for the Sarah Angel downshift for years and years and years. It's my favorite Magic card. So I've been waiting. I think I have a stack of like 200 Sarah Angels as like cards that I've collected. As well as one of my buddies gifted me an Alpha Sarah Angel like years and years ago. So I would love to play an Alpha Sarah Angel in my Pauper deck, but
I would love. Look, I literally want every single card to be playable in Pauper that like wouldn't impact the meta, like things like that. Because that'd be cool. If you want to play a Sarah Angel, you can do it. But I'm not gonna have to ever play against a Sarah Angel, probably. You know.
Yeah. It's like I would happily also play against a Sarah Angel because
that card's not very good.
You're gonna win.
Exactly. Yeah, I will say Dominaria brought back Sarah Angel in its set. You were just telling me you had a box of that, and I know a lot of people have nostalgia for a lot of the other arts, but I think that art is just absolutely gorgeous.
The Dominaria art. There was a couple good ones. There was the promo Rebecca Gay art.
Yep.
That is just like absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's really hit or miss. My core set 2012, I think, was the one when I started. 2011, 2012 was when I started kind of playing Magic. And that was, no, maybe it was 2010. I don't know. Either way, but the same art.
Yeah, definitely the one that I started with too.
Yeah, and that was the one that I like fell in love with because it was me and my brothers playing. We both would buy like the Deck Builders Toolkit, which was awesome thing at the time. And that was the card that was just like the most broken when we realized how good it is. Because one, we never ran any removal. It was just like, oh, let's just run the best creatures we can. And a 4/4 creature that can like block and attack and fly was just unbeatable.
When there's no removal in the format, that is a very good card for sure.
Yeah. So we would trade out, and that was the card that I collected to just destroy my brothers with.
Nice. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. So everybody, let us know what you think of the Secret Lair decision, the decisions about any of the recent bans and things like that. We're, of course, interested to hear about that. And thanks so much for listening and watching the Familiar Podcast. We will see you next time.
All right. Thank you, everyone.